Join me as I take on the challenge of making the best tasting gluten-free sourdough bread. It's incredibly easy to make at home if you have this variety of correctly measured ingredients and follow these instructions exactly. Gluten-free sourdough bread is a fantastic alternative for those with gluten sensitivities or celiac disease. And today I'm going to show you just how easy it can be to make it at home. When it comes to making gluten-free bread, many of us face the same common challenges. The texture is often dense and heavy, the taste is bland, and getting it to rise can be a real struggle. It's frustrating to say the least, especially when you're trying to create a recipe that's both gluten-free and delicious. But don't worry, I've been there too, and I've learned a thing or two about how to overcome these challenges. Now you might be wondering, what makes this different from regular gluten-free bread? Well, gluten-free sourdough is not just better tasting, but it's also easier to digest thanks to the fermentation process. During fermentation, natural wild yeast and beneficial bacteria help break down starches, making the bread lighter, tangier, and more gut-friendly than traditional gluten-free loaves. If you have celiac disease or a gluten intolerance, regular sourdough made from wheat is still off limits. But with the right mix of gluten-free flours, you can enjoy the same tasty, chewy goodness without the gluten. It's a great alternative for anyone looking for a nutritious, flavorful, and healthier way to enjoy bread without the side effects of gluten. With a little bit of patience and practice, you can create a beautiful, delicious loaf that is perfect for sandwiches, toast, or just for snacking on its own. And if you want a foolproof gluten-free sourdough recipe, stick around for this video.
So first things we're going to do is everything needs to be weighed. And these are in grams. So we're going to start with our Psyllium husks, and I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly. Someone will correct me on that, but so 20 grams of that. Once I'm done with it, I take this and put it away, so I know that I've used it. Now we need our 260 grams of water. Now, the reason we use distilled water is so that there's nothing else in the water that could interfere with the sourdough. 260 grams of that. Mix that in together. Set this aside. Next, we're going to do our dry ingredients. So we are doing tapioca starch. Always remember to zero out your scale first. Okay, 65 grams. 65 grams of arrowroot starch. 100 grams of potato starch. There we go. We need 113 grams. Next we have the brown rice. And this, we need 57 grams. You cannot use a regular measuring cup to do this, because as you've noted, some of the amounts look the same, but they are different weights. So you need to have a kitchen scale. And I will put a link for that in the description below for the Amazon scale that I use. Okay, now we're going to do 15 grams of sugar. And 7 grams of xanthan gum. 12 grams of baking powder. And 12 grams of sea salt. take this and mix it all just by hand to make sure that everything is mixed in and it's an even consistency. So now we're going to add our wet ingredients. So I'm going to start with my water and psyllium husks. Now I need to weigh out my wet ingredients. So I'm going to use that same container because it's just fine. Okay, we need 120 grams of milk. Okay. I'm going to crack my 2 eggs into here. I don't need to weigh them, but I never want to crack an egg into that. And now 50 grams of oil. Now sunflower oil or any other neutral vegetable oil also works, or seed oil. What I have is canola oil. I normally use sunflower oil. There we go. And the last thing that goes in there is my starter. It rose overnight, and so it is hungry again. And that's the way you want to put it into your sourdough bread, gluten-free, is you want it to be hungry. So that when I put it into this, it's going to help it ferment and grow and bubble even more. So you do not want it a well-fed starter. You want it a hungry starter going into your bread. Okay. And I need 60 grams of this. So I'm going to mix it up. So it's well combined. And 60 grams. Okay, and now I'm going to put this in with the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so now I'm going to go put this in my KitchenAid mixer and run this for 5 minutes. There's another video about how I do my sourdough, gluten-free sourdough starter. So you're going to have to go and watch that video, because this video we're just going to talk about how we use my brown rice gluten-free sourdough starter. There we go.
Mix using an electric mixer with dough hooks, and I recommend mixing for at least 5 minutes to ensure a smoother dough. The dough will be very sticky, but don't add any extra flour to it. Don't overwork the dough. Gluten-free bread doesn't need kneading like regular bread. Dust a bantam basket with flour or use a mixing bowl lined with a dusted kitchen towel. Turn the dough onto a floured working surface and shape into a ball. Grease your hands with some oil to prevent sticking or use extra flour for dusting. Turn the dough inside down into the basket and press it in to create a flat surface. Cover the dough and leave it to proof for 5 to 7 hours. I recommend proofing it at 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius for the best results. Alternatively, you could place the dough in an oven with the light on.
In my oven, with the oven light on, in order to give it enough warmth so it can rise. Now it is not going to rise very much at all, but it gives the sourdough a chance to activate while it's in there. And I'm going to leave it in my oven with the light on for 5 hours. That sticker right there is to remind me to not turn on my oven when I'm doing sourdough. Wrapped up, put it nice there next to the light, and we close it up. Set the timer for 5 hours.
This is my trick in order to ensure that the crust on the bottom does not get burnt. Now you're going to carefully turn the dough over onto a piece of parchment paper and score. Scoring means cutting the top of the dough with a sharp razor or knife to create a pattern and aid in the oven spring. Then gently lower the parchment with the loaf into a cold Dutch oven, close the lid, and transfer to a cold oven. Start preheating the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and once preheated, start the timer for 45 minutes. After the first 45 minutes, take the lid off the Dutch oven, lower the temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake for an additional 35 minutes. Once the bread is done, transfer to a cooling rack and let it sit until it's no longer warm to the touch. Then slice with a serrated knife and enjoy. And there you have it. Our delicious gluten-free sourdough bread is finally ready. Take a look at how beautiful it looks. With its crispy golden crust and soft, fluffy interior, the aroma is just incredible. Let's take a closer look and see how it tastes. The texture is perfect, soft and fluffy on the inside, and with just the right amount of crumb. And the flavor is amazing with a delicious tang from the sourdough starter and just a hint of sweetness from the flours. So there you have it. Gluten-free sourdough bread might seem tricky at first, but with the right ingredients and techniques, it's absolutely doable and totally worth it. It's easy to make. Once you have a strong gluten-free sourdough starter, the rest is simple. No complicated kneading or no fancy equipment, just time, patience, and a little bit of love. It tastes amazing, unlike store-bought gluten-free bread, which can be dry or bland. This sourdough has a rich, tangy flavor and a soft, chewy texture, just like real bread. It's nutritious. The fermentation process helps break down those starches, making it easier to digest and packed with beneficial bacteria that support gut health. And it fits perfectly into your gluten-free lifestyle. Whether you have celiac disease, a gluten sensitivity, or just want a healthier bread option, this recipe allows you to enjoy fresh, homemade bread without the gluten. Follow my step-by-step recipe and you'll never go back to store-bought gluten-free bread again. Let me know in the comments how your loaf turns out, and drop a comment and share your favorite gluten-free recipes or tips. And if you're looking for more gluten-free baking inspiration, check out my other videos where I share tips, tricks, and foolproof recipes to help you bake with confidence. Click here to watch my next video about making a gluten-free starter and enjoy your gluten-free baking journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new recipe. See you at the next one. Happy baking!